So I was like, I want to be a singer really bad. So when I was like 18, I was like, okay, I'm actually going to try and make this a reality rather than just keep saying it and hope it happens. When if you have the core belief that something is going to happen at the right time, at the right place, then it will happen, yeah.
One of the most exciting and newest sensations to come from TikTok is the producer and songstress tandem PinkPantheress. Clocking in at 6.5 million monthly listeners and more than 500 million streams on Spotify, we are captivated by her sense of anonymity, the freshness of her sound, and the mystery and intrigue of her identity. Ever since her meteoric rise, widespread acclaim, and excitement, she has now shifted her focus from having a moment that she was blessed with having with the exposure of TikTok to now transitioning that buzz into a musical career filled with longevity. Combining catchy top-line writing with the feel of garage and drum and bass beats, she reintroduced and exposed a variety of sounds to an audience that weren't familiar with them before. The Just For Me singer's bubbly personality, star quality, and a knack for knowing her audience combined with her firm belief of manifestation has set the stage for an interesting story and a foundation for the sound of tomorrow. We were all introduced to the phenomenon of PinkPantheress at the start of 2021, and what seemed as an overnight process to the majority of us was actually an elaborate and strategic plan that took years for her to execute. PinkPantheress wanted to make music professionally, but found little success posting her music on SoundCloud at first. During this time, she admits to being naive about not knowing how the music industry works, and that she maybe needed professional connections to get her music heard, but she discovered something profound in the process, that she didn't need to know anyone but her target audience, and that her knowledge of the internet was all she needed. That if other artists could use platforms like SoundCloud and TikTok to cut through, so could she. She looked to artists like XXXTentacion, Doja Cat, and Lil Nas X to plan how she was going to cut through.
TikTok, all right? I know you're probably tired of it. You're like, oh my God, everyone's always tying me to TikTok. Do you think that like TikTok is like very important in your musical journey?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
PinkPantheress stated in an interview with NPR that when I posted Pain, I was doing one song a day. I was really sure what I wanted to achieve through TikTok, and it was obviously to get a bigger audience. Also adding, I'm just going to try and do this as quick as I can because I'm really impatient with everything. I kind of resorted to doing one song a day in order to speed up the process, which sounds bad. I personally would like to think that this outlook on expediting her process of gaining exposure and visibility was not bad, but rather realistic. Being an internet kid, you understand trends and the limited window of opportunity you may have. You understand that everything moves fast, creators and musicians' lives change at the blink of an eye, and because of how attractive that is, we are essentially in an age of instant gratification. And by leveraging her knowledge of platforms like TikTok and SoundCloud, she was able to tap into an audience that would gravitate to her sound. Her speaking on this process is an important caveat for other inspiring artists.
I feel like that's what I hear a lot is people are like, oh, your music is so nostalgic. I don't know, I feel like 2000 is just misunderstood, and it was a time for just people to just be themselves. I feel like people just love that feeling.
In the case of PinkPantheress, her process of figuring out how she was going to cut through was contingent upon her knowledge of how her target audience digests music. Once she realized that TikTok prioritized short-form content, she strategized a plan to upload short 20-second music loops packed with sticky top-line writing. The goal for her was to have a larger output and let her audience decide on what would be fleshed out into a complete song. And the first song to catch fire from this process was Pain. The musical phase and the identity she's going for at the moment can be described as new nostalgia, a fresh twist on a wide range of genres that includes drum and bass, garage, pop, and K-pop. There are many artists that have come before PinkPantheress that have been very influential in these genres separately, and some may be able to distinguish and pick apart these similarities and influences. You've got modern artists such as GoldLink and Kaytranada, as well as legendary UK garage and breakbeat artists that have certainly paved the way for newer artists in this space to reap the benefits. However, it's the way that PinkPantheress has been able to blend these different genres while maintaining the essence and a certain authenticity that was popular in the 90s and the 2000s. PinkPantheress' artistic branding is an endearing reminder of a period in time when authenticity was rewarded and the desire to be different was paramount.
The types of instrumentals that you gravitate toward, I mean, there's been a lot of conversation about, drum and bass and garage and the influence that that brings to your music, but sort of the spacious approach that you take to that sonically and your vocal style, I think the tape kind of encapsulates, like, at least for right now, what is like the PinkPantheress sound.
Yeah, no, well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, yeah.
Her musical grip on the youth serves, if not the introduction, definitely a connector to a broader musical palette for many people. The success of records such as Pain, Just For Me, and Break It Off, and how her audience gravitated to these records, was enough market research for her to lock in the studio to release a body of work that can serve as a marker of where she is. And that takes us to the current phase of her sound, To Hell With It, a pop, punk, and emo-driven record. With subject matter that draws from experience, but also contains songwriting that playfully flirts with hyperbole and grand exaggerations. For instance, like how Pain colorfully details a past experience with an ex-lover, and how Last Valentine details crashing her car into a tree.
V is for Valentine's. I've got a song called Last Valentine's where I'm really dramatic and I say that I crashed my car into a tree. I've never done that.
Since her meteoric rise, PinkPantheress has found a pocket where she can be more selective and calculated with choosing her release schedule going forward. She's hinted at plans to evolve from the current drum and bass sound that she's currently known for, and has expressed her interest towards trying out different genres and progressing her sound. She stated that she wants to hone in on crafting music that centers around her London roots and make more R&B leaning records. The way that PinkPantheress has approached branding in anonymity has been very interesting, especially in this current musical and social climate. We condition our stars of today to be more accessible for fans, and we equip fans with the tools to these artists' every move. And to be honest, it's a total invasion of privacy. Pink is shockingly different in this regard, that despite her newfound rise in this industry, and with everything happening seemingly fast, she has successfully managed to have boundaries to make it easier to keep her personal life private.
Not to sound cliche, but you can kind of let it all take control, or you can kind of just act like it's not happening and kind of just try and live your normal life. And essentially I went with the latter. It doesn't matter what's going on online, it's like my real life really hasn't changed.
After all, it wasn't that long ago that she was living a very normal life as a film student at uni. I think because of her strong familiarity with internet culture, she was able to see how fans could be intrusive and at times borderline obsessive of their favorite artists' personal lives. I believe having a personal life can provide some stability and normalcy in what would otherwise be a very chaotic life, and having a successful musical career shouldn't come at the expense of having some peace of mind and being able to detach. The fact that she understands this at such an early age will certainly help her in the long run.
What's going through your mind when you're finally deciding this is proper to release or this isn't?
It boils down to one, okay, is it good enough? Two, what am I singing about? What am I writing about? Three, how does it fit in context of what I'm doing right now? Four, has it got a sample in it? In the past, samples haven't been too fun for me.
While PinkPantheress was building her buzz, she was creating with less collaborators and was reduced to relying on sample-heavy records to get her vision across. Songwriting aside, the production on some of these records created an interesting conversation regarding sampling and the perception it has in the music creation process. Some of PinkPantheress's biggest records contain samples, such as Pain, which samples Flowers by Sweet Female Attitude, and Break It Off that samples Adam F. Sampling is an art that provides a new interpretation of a body of work that had existed before, just now it's contextualized to fit a different artist's experiences. At times, Pink has been accused of stealing certain production, and while that is the furthest from the truth, I believe this will always be a point of view that many have regarding sampling. You can do everything the right way by crediting the original artists and including them in the vision to ensure they like how their work is being reinterpreted, as PinkPantheress does, but still, there will always be a level of inconvenience and criticism that comes with sampling, and it forces artists to weigh their options when it comes to sampling versus having original compositions. Now that she has the resources, she has her sights set on expanding her sound and adding different tempos and genres to her catalog. In this day and age, artist development has drastically changed. Our superstars of the future are faced with the reality of blowing up within a blink of an eye. And because of this, they have to scramble to perfect the process that would normally happen before we're even introduced to an artist. One of the areas that is harder for artists to perfect these days is live performances. PinkPantheress is admitted to being a nervous performer and even jokes about cutting her set short and keeping her crowd small and intimate. It's funny because we all know that's going to be unrealistic the bigger she gets, but it's something that's probably relatable for artists who blew up in the same way she did.
I wouldn't say I was struggling in any sense, but I'd say it's been something I've had to learn, like as in not gradually learn, but learn very much abruptly all at once.
Luckily for her, I think people will love her for her, understand that they are essentially growing with her and won't necessarily care that she's a work in progress. As PinkPantheress continues to break boundaries, I see a very successful career in her future.